Okay, a little bit of dimensioning type stuff, and this is a drawing you'll be doing in a couple of weeks, and it's not this is not a tutorial on this particular project, but I chose it because it's got a couple of items in it that I want to show you before you get to that point. So this is a metric drawing, and we have to make some changes to the metric dimension style. And so the way to edit a dimension style, if you don't remember, is you've got to place a dimension first. So I'm just going to place a dimension. And then escape out of dimension command and right click the dimension and go edit dimension style. Okay, now we are staying with the default millimeter ANSI. And depending upon your drawing, you can change the decimal precision. Most metric drawings are, 0 decimal precision. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to 0. This one is, except for I think maybe a couple of dimensions on it. But display with a metric style, you display the leading zeros. So if a measurement is less than 1 millimeter, you would put a 0 point whatever it is. Okay. Since we set it at 0 decimal places, it doesn't matter if we have trailing zeros turned on or not. That doesn't matter. Okay. All right. The big thing is going to be on the text is the orientation, and I've covered this in in other videos. We want everything to be horizontal. Okay, so we want to change those two. Tolerance, we deal with tolerance on a case-by-case basis, not as a default for the actual drawing. So we'll just leave it as default right there. Okay. Options, this is where you can change some of the options on how the default is on arrowhead placement and things like that. Pretty much we just leave them all as set up as the defaults as they are. So I'm going to go save and close that out. Okay, because we want all of our dimensions to be read horizontally. In mechanical drafting, every company will do their own thing, but for the most part here in the US of A, we keep our letters horizontal on mechanical drawing. Okay, so that was editing a dimension style. Okay, a big thing with some of these unusual shapes is dimensioning to an intersection. And so here we've got these two surfaces that are at an angle to each other, but there's a round in between them. So we really can't get a dimension to that, but we need a dimension there. Because in this view, because that's a fillet, it's not showing up. We would have to, and in this particular case, we would want to turn on tangent edges. Okay. Foreshorten might have been a little, I don't know. I mean, it makes it look really ugly when you have to turn all those things on. But let's turn foreshortened on. Make them solid. There we go. Because you can see you got a whole bunch of lines right here because we got a whole bunch of fillets in there. All right. So let's it just gets ugly when we display those things. But up here, I'm going to turn them off up here in this view. So I'm going to come here to this view and edit it and unlock that and go back to display options and turn that off because I don't want to show them up here simply because of the way I got to dimension this. I need a center mark here. Come on, center line. Okay. Now, to dimension to an intersection, what I'm going to go from this center line, and I want to come over to here. And so I'm going to select that line, but then right-click and go intersection, and then click this line, and then place it. And what it does is it projects the intersection of those two edges to make that dimension. And in this particular drawing, you're going to have that. If you had two angled lines, you know, two angled surfaces, and you needed the distance between them, you would just double that. So we could start our dimension command, we'd select this one, and then go intersection, and then this one. And then we could come out and select a line, right click. It won't do it because it won't do it because I don't have the angled lines there. But you would do it on both ends of the dimension. So you would start with, you know, pick the intersection of this one, and then if you would pick the intersection of this. Let me try that one more time. Let me try it. Intersection, okay. And then I'll select this one, intersection with that. Okay, not a good example because these are at right angles to each other, but that's how it would work to get intersections. Okay, let me review adding a tolerance. And most of the time our tolerances are going to be with holes. Okay, so you would place a dimension and then edit hole node. Okay, and yeah, you know, I covered this, I think, back in the 1105 class with a lot of these kind of things. If you need more symbols, you can just add them in should you need them. But we want to come in here, precision and tolerance. And we're going to uncheck global precision. And in here, we can, if we need decimal places, we can set it for what it is. So we want 2 decimal places here. Okay. And I'm going to expand this, and we're going to get tolerances. And I can choose my method. Do I want symmetrical, you know, the same up and down? Most of the time, we're going to see limits. And so my upper limit, I'm going to say 5. My lower limit, I'm going to say 2. And let's see how it looks there. Okay. So the values you put in there is what it will add to that. If I go with a negative value there, it subtracts it down. Okay. And you can kind of play around with those different tolerance types, but most of the time we have stacked tolerances. If they're equal both ways, you can use the deviation method. Okay. All right. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes you're going to need to move views on a sheet, and often it's when you're going to have like a bottom view or section views that you really can't line them up straight across. So what I'll just demonstrate with this view here. So we select our view, and we come in here and uncheck that, okay, to get the style. and we go to display options and we can turn off align to base and we tell it OK. And so now we can move this anywhere on the sheet we want to. Now it's rare, but it's not unheard of. Okay, and most of the time it's done with like a bottom view or a partial bottom view. Section views may get moved to different places on the sheets. So sometimes you're going to want to move those things around. Now, also sometimes you're going to want to rotate a view. Alignment, let's see. No, that's not it. Rotate, there we go. And usually we can tell it an angle or we can give it an edge, something like that. So let's go with edge and let's pick that top. Oh, because it's set to horizontal or vertical. Duh. Okay. If I go with an absolute angle, okay. And so, oftentimes, in this particular drawing, we're going to have a section in here, but it's going to be rotated in place. So let me just back out of that, come up with a better example. So let me pop a section view into here. And this is not the way that we are going to section this one when we get to that particular drawing. Okay. And part of the problem with this is, okay, so it's rotated, it's showing stuff beyond it. So let's come in here and let's edit our section properties. Instead of a full depth, let's go with a distance. Yeah, 6 millimeters is fine. Okay. Now I've got that, and let's rotate it and move it. So we'll go edit view, and we're going to turn off align to base. And so I'm going to move it over here, and I want to rotate it. I want to say 45 degrees. No, it's not 40. That's pretty close. It's not exact. Probably 43.5. Let me just undo. I could go relative. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Rotate relative angle. Uh, well, I thought relative would be it. Okay, so that was it there. And then, of course, we'd want to change the angle of our hatch. We're not doing that on this particular project, but there are some drawings in where you will want to rotate the actual sections that are coming through there and move them around on the sheet. Okay, those are good. Annotation symbols. We've covered this in some other things. You've got lots of symbols here. We're going to be doing in this class, we're doing these datums. We got surface texture symbol that we can place in. We've got these feature control panels that we'll be using in datums. And so, it's pretty simple. You pull those things in there and you can place it right there on the edge. And if there's no value specified with this, most of the time these are just a check mark. You just leave all of these things blank, okay? If there is a value given, then you would put the values in there, okay? I think we've covered a lot of things in as far as text for leaders go. But if you need symbols here, same kind of a thing, you can pull them in right here. Different kinds of symbols that you may need, okay? Some are automatic, but you've got your diameter, counter bore, spot face, taper, center line. Sometimes some of the drawings you'll see dimensions to the center line, and the center line is actually marked, okay? So you can apply that. Yeah. Okay, so that pretty well covers our tutorial for this week. If you've got questions, send me an email, come by the lab and see us, and we will get you fixed up, okay?